Where do I even begin? My glorious team that I still love to this very day. Where do I even begin? Through all 82 games, we've had a roller coaster of a year, starting with uh, the hiring of the new head coach, JJ Redick, after we fired Darvin Ham last year after our flame out against the Denver Nuggets in 5 games in the first round. Um, then we started off with virtually the same roster: D'Lo, Max Christie, AD, and LeBron. And we traded D'Angelo Russell for Dorian Finney-Smith. And then it was AD and Braun like the good old days, and it was we actually kind of started to gel a little bit, just like we did in 2020. But that didn't matter because we traded Anthony Davis for Luka. And if you guys want my full thoughts on the trade, I have that video on this channel. Y'all can go search for it. I've been dreading to make this video. I wanted to make it last night, but I just needed to go to bed because if I talk about the game, I probably will be up until like 2 in the morning because I love it when I cannot sleep until like 2 o'clock till like 1, 2 in the morning, even though I got some good sleep last night. But let's just talk about this, man. Like, I'm not sad that we lost because I did explain in my video talking about my prediction, even though I did say Lakers in 5. I didn't say it was just like, oh my gosh, we have the series in the bag. But I was like, yeah, I think we can take him in 5, but that's only if we play our cards right. That's virtually what I was saying, and we didn't play our cards right. We got 5 game the other way. The Timberwolves took us out in 5, bro. But I'm more embarrassed about how we lost because, bro, you do not play the way, bro. These mother effers, man. They got down 21-9. It didn't even look like they really cared in the first and parts of the fourth quarter. They played hard for 2 quarters, and that was quarters 2 and 3. But the rest of the game, they did not care. They did not give a you-know-what about this game. Like, there was going to be a game, they're going to have a rest day, and they can have Friday, they might play a game on Friday. They treated this damn game like it was a regular season game. Like, excuse me. Do you not know, Lakers, that if you lose this game, your season's over? I know JJ said that y'all are on edge, but I couldn't tell. The Timberwolves wanted it badly more than you guys did. They were playing like they were the ones down 3-1. Oh, man. I did not like that game 5 at all. Look, I shouldn't be surprised about the fact that we lost because the Wolves, they've been playing out of their mind. And I understand that for the first time in history, the Lakers as a 3rd seed would lose in the first round. And then outside of that, we've been 19-0. But the problem is, if you look at the NBA standings this year, let me go look that up. You would notice that the gap between the 2nd and even the 7th seed, bro, it's the gap is so slim, dog. Like, look, the Lakers could have easily fallen to the 7th or 8th seed. You dig what I'm saying? Like, they could have fell down to those places in the those seeds in the standings, right? The Warriors are 38-34, Memphis 38-34. Minnesota was a game behind us. They could have taken the 3rd seed if they wanted to, right? 49-33, and then we had the tiebreaker between the Nuggets and the Clippers. They have a game themselves tonight. They're trying to stave off elimination and not try to come with us to Cancun. Excuse me. But bro, this was embarrassing. Regardless of how you put it, yeah, the standings probably don't matter, and it shouldn't really matter anyway because the gap is so slim between the Rockets, the number 2 seed Rockets, and the number 8 seed Grizzlies. And the Rockets, they themselves are trying to stave off elimination. Golden State's trying to move on to the next round to play Minnesota. Regardless how you put it, this was just embarrassing. It simply was. And I think what cost us games 3, 4, and 5. And I noticed this issue. People pointed this issue out when we had Anthony Davis on the team. Keep that in mind. After the 2020 chip, Shannon Sharp, even though he's not the best example to use right now, considering that that dude's under hot water, but around the time he was correct. And when he was on Skip Bayless with Undisputed, and a dude that he used to be friends with, he also pointed this out as well. The Lakers, for some reason, go on these droughts where they simply cannot score the basketball. Think about that. With the hype that this team got, oh, Lakers in 5 this, Lakers in 5 that, Austin Reeves is better than every other, and then every other option in the league. Like, he's better than Tobias Harris. I know people, obviously he's better, but the type of narratives created around this quote unquote big three was starting to get corny, and it was starting to get ridiculous. But games 3, 4, and 5 in the fourth quarter, especially in the fourth quarter, we had a stretch where we simply could not score the basketball. And the fact that we couldn't score the basketball, it didn't matter what defense we put out there against, quote unquote defense, because our guys cannot guard a freaking bottle of, like, I'm looking at my pre-workout right here. They can't even guard my pre-workout and my lamp. That's how bad it was. It didn't matter because we couldn't score. I just had a wholesome moment with my mom. That's why I kind of stopped recording a little bit. She wanted to congratulate me on, doing this whole YouTube podcasting thing. Thanks, Mom. But no, anyways, at the end of the day, it didn't matter what defense or quote unquote defense we put out there, because again, those guys couldn't even guard my damn lamp if they wanted to. It didn't, whatever we did, it didn't matter because we could not score the basketball, and it pretty much killed us in games 3, down the stretches of games 3, 4, and 5. I want to get to Luka. I was pretty excited when we got him. I was very excited. And then when we went on a stretch where we went 20-4, I told my mom that I was going to say something that I haven't said in like 5 years, that the Lakers were going to make it out of the Western Conference. That's how genuinely excited I was for this team, bro. But over time, the Lakers, I even told my dad this, we had a game against Boston where we just wet the bed until the fourth quarter. We were down so much and we tried to make it interesting, and because the Lakers, they always have this thing for just like falling down behind so much, and then they generate these comebacks. We make the game interesting, and it didn't really matter again. It happened again last night in game 5. But excuse me. But I just told my dad, look, as long as we can finish the regular season as strong as we could, it can only go up from here. And the Lakers were 6-4 in their last 10 games. I gotta look at the games that we played prior to the playoffs. So we lost a pretty bad one against. There was a stretch in there after we won against the Denver Nuggets on March 19th. We got absolutely our what's kicked in by the Milwaukee Bucks, 118-89, March 20th. March 22nd at home, we absolutely got whiz-apped by the Bulls. The Magic beat us. They're out of the playoffs. We could have lost against Indiana, but thankfully LeBron James tipped the ball in at the buzzer. We got a 120-119 win. And the Lakers and the Bulls, the Lakers made so many dumb mistakes, and they kept on turning the ball over and such. And we lost that game 119-117. The common denominator is that it didn't really matter if we went 20-4 or we were the quote unquote best defensive team. I watched the games highlights, and I even watched the Lakers Pacers game at my work. There was a lot of glaring signs that the Lakers may not, this iteration of this Laker team, or of the Lakers, right? Because I think we'll get better. If we could build around Luka the same way Nico Harrison built around Luka that year they won the championship, because even though they were ass with Grant Williams and such, Rashawn Holmes. They flipped those guys for Danny Gafford and PJ Washington. That was the perfect roster to build around Luka because you have a good shooter, you have a complementary piece in Kyrie, you have good 3-and-D dogs, and you have dogs for bigs. You dig what I'm saying? Like, and I'm gonna get to that issue because our Rudy Gobert just absolutely looked like prime David Robinson, prime Shaquille O'Neal, prime Hakeem Olajuwon, and whatever you want to call it, whatever other Hall of Fame big man you can think of. And then obviously we had a 2-game winning streak against the Grizzlies and Rockets, and we ended up losing to the Warriors. Great. And against the Thunder, we actually looked pretty good. And I was just like, I will. But even in our blowout win against the Thunder, I really wasn't too sold on this current iteration of the Lakers. Because I told my this dude that I used to be friends with, I told this dude, look, it doesn't really change how I feel about this OKC team. This OKC team is legit. They just had a bad night, and then obviously there was a BS technical against Luka, which prevented us from having the game of the year between the Lakers and the Thunder on April 8th. Okay, fine. And we beat the AD-led Mavericks, and then we beat the Lakers, the Rockets, and yada, yada, yada. And then game one last Saturday, or a couple Saturdays ago, I should say, I was actually excited to see what the Lakers were going to do. And we went down 1-0, and it was just like, okay, I'm not too concerned. There's a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up that are correctable. Like, keep the ball in front of you. Don't turn the ball over. I said in my there was actually a post on Instagram where I was actually kind of shocked. At the time, I was shocked, but it feels like it turns out I really haven't been tuning into the Lakers that much this year because I've been so focused on other teams. And plus, Spectrum Sportsnet, I have to pay extra money to watch the Lakers, even though I have the NBA app and I've been paying for the League Pass. That's so useless. But anyways, we were a bottom 5 transition team. And we were going up against a very fast-paced Minnesota team that was looking to run and gun every single opportunity they got. And they happened here. It happened here. And we were a high turnover team. I'm just like, okay, if we can get back and not turn the ball over, we have a solid chance of beating this team. If we can exploit mismatches on the perimeter with Rudy Gobert, it didn't happen. In game 3, Rudy had his major revenge moment because from that same spot that Luka hit the game winner in his eye last year when he was on the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie, he drained the 3 in his eye and he was yelling at him saying, "Mother effer, you can't guard me," talking to the Minnesota crowd. In game 5, he was talking to not Snoop Dogg, but a fan behind Snoop Dogg, and Snoop was laughing his ass off, and it was just like, oh, this mother effer, he a bad mother effer. You know what I'm saying? And then last year, it didn't matter. Because Rudy Gobert stripped him, and Rudy Gobert got an and one. I think it was either him or Jaden McDaniels got an and one. I said in my video that the Timberwolves have the advantage when it came to the others. And it showed all 5 games. There was not one single game. Well, outside of game 5, you could say. Because let me go check the box score for game 5. And I was watching that game, but it was like Jaden fouled out with 8 points in 18 minutes. Julius Randle had 23. Julius Randle balled, man. Like, I give it to him. Mike had 8. Dante had 9. Nikhil Alexander, Shea's cousin, only had 10. And Naz Reid only had 3. So their others really didn't play a great game, but our others were arguably worse because outside of Rui Hachimura, we got nothing from Finney Smith. Austin Reeves picked the worst time to go cold. Even though he's been cold all series, we needed him for at least this game. He went cold. Vanderbilt went cold. And brother, why did we put this dude Maxi Kleber has not played since January? He was still on the Dallas Mavericks and we threw him in the trade package for Luka, right? This dude has not played in like 100 days. Dead ass 100 days, bruh. Dead ass 100 days. And all of a sudden, JJ decided to say front and center. Front and center, Maxi, you're coming in tonight. Like what? I did not understand that at all. JJ's game plan to play his starters the whole second half. There was a lot of coaching criminality with this team. Maxi Kleber's last game was against the Boston Celtics, where they lost 122-107. Maxi only had 1 point in that game in 11 minutes. Maxi Kleber was just god awful, and he was god awful for this season for the Dallas Mavs as well, in like such limited playing time and he was god awful last postseason. Well, not last postseason. With the Clippers, he was pretty good, but when he came back, he was just not good at all. JJ, for some reason, played him over Hayes, and Charles Barkley made a good point. The fact that he played this dude just shows how he felt about our bench. He pretty much sent the message that Jackson Hayes, Alex Len, Don't Connect, Bronny, y'all are trash. I'm not giving any of you mother effers the time of day. And that's what happened. And the Timberwolves I felt like the Timberwolves felt insulted. It was just like, why are they putting this dude out there? This dude ain't played since like freaking January. And you putting him out there front and center. There's a lot of coaching criminality with JJ Redick in this. It doesn't change how I feel about him as a coach, because I still think he's a good coach with coach of the year potential. And I thought with the roster turnarounds he's had this whole entire season with D'Lo, Bron, and Bron and Luka, I thought JJ did a pretty phenomenal job. And I'm not trying to glaze the guy. I genuinely thought he did a pretty good job. But this go around, he went up against a coach that has been there in the playoffs, and this was his first year. So I'm trying to give him some grace. And I understand some first-year head coaches have taken their teams to finals, to conference finals, and so on and so forth. Jason Kidd, Steve Kerr, and Ty Lue. But sometimes things don't happen the way you want it to happen. And I'm going to give JJ sort of a pass, but he did a lot of dumb things coaching-wise, so I can't give him grace for that. Now I want to talk about Luka. Luka Doncic, I was very excited for when we got him. But at the same time, there was a seed of doubt in my mind where I was like, we literally gave up a good defensive unit, because Max Christie was our best 3-and-D guard since Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Casey, we haven't really had a really good 3-and-D guard to help protect Austin from getting picked off, just like we did in 2020. We had KCP, we had Danny Green, Avery Bradley to shield. I'm not saying to shield LeBron a little. Essentially, we shielded LeBron's defensive deficiencies so he could be used as a weak side defender, while Avery, Kentavious, and Danny can stay in front of the ball and force him to LeBron's weak side. Wherever LeBron's strong side, or whether it's the strong side or the weak side of the floor, they could force him into that side so LeBron can stunt and recover to his man. Right? Max Christie was the best guard that we've had when it came to being a 3-and-D guard since KCP, Avery, and Danny Green. And we traded him away to the Dallas Mavericks, where I have a feeling that there's a chance Max Christie could become a star on that team. Off chance, because he's shown star potential in his first few games with Dallas, and that's just him having a hot shooting night. And then Anthony Davis, in his last game as a Laker, he had 42 and 23, and that was the game against the Charlotte Hornets. And then obviously he got injured against Philadelphia, and that was his last full game, and that was the last we've seen of Anthony Davis in a Philadelphia jersey. I mean, in a Laker jersey, which was in Philadelphia. Right? So I didn't really like. Well, let me backtrack it. I did like the trade, but it's just like the fact we had to give up a lot of good defense on our team, and the fact that we had to rely on Finney Smith, Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent. All of them are good defenders, but the thing is, those guys are deep bench guys. There's a reason why Dallas traded Dodo for Kyrie. There's a reason why Minnesota traded Vanderbilt, even though they could. There's an off chance he could use him right now. And then, Miami was stupid not to pay Gabe Vincent, and they flipped him for Terry Rozier, who that mother effer is so bad. And then you got Davion Mitchell. At least they have an excuse saying, "Hey, we got a younger version of Vincent in Davion." Those guys at this stage of all their careers, they're just good bench rotational players. But I didn't do my series recap on the Bucks Pacers series last year, but I said this to my old friends about Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, and Bobby Portis being in the starting lineup. The fact that those three, and I'm talking in the case of the Bucks with Pat Bev, Bees, and Portis, the fact that those three were in the starting lineup it was no wonder the Pacers were able to get them in a game 6. And the fact that we played Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent and Vanderbilt a lot of minutes in Game 5 showed you how flawed this roster is. And I feel like Jared Vanderbilt was very good defensively his first year with the Lakers. It was because of AD. And AD didn't really have a big man to complement him. Now he has that in Dallas with Danny Gafford and Lively, even though there's an off chance we could get a guy like Gafford or Nico Claxton this upcoming offseason after the finals, right? Luka was just absolute. I knew we were in trouble in Game 5 when Jaden McDaniels catch the ball. Luka could not keep him in front. He allowed Jaden to go baseline, and Jaden got a slam dunk. When I saw that, I was just like, this dude is out of shape. And there was like a windup where him and Dante and Rudy Gobert, it was a hard foul on Luka. Luka landed funny. He kind of tweaked his back, but a lot of people are saying that's probably more so on his conditioning. Because he really didn't land on his tailbone. He just landed funny, and I think it had everything to do with his conditioning. And a lot of people are pointing that out. And that's why Nico Harrison traded him. I'm not defending Nico by any means, because you just don't trade a franchise player like that, especially the one that got you to the finals. But a lot of people are saying that Nico caught too much heat. There's a lot of things. There's probably a reason that we don't know that he traded Luka. And obviously, Nico Harrison explained that, look, defense wins championships. Luka could not play defense. We get a guy in Anthony Davis who is the best power forward in the NBA when he's healthy, and an elite defender when he's healthy. And it showed in the Sacramento game too, and parts of the Memphis game, even though Memphis overall ran away with it. But that's partially because Dallas did not have Kyrie. If Dallas had Kyrie, we would have a much more competitive series between OKC and Dallas, even though OKC would probably win that series in 7, because I think AD and Kyrie are good enough to force them to a game 7. And then obviously Memphis did what they did, and I already made my video about them. I'm not gonna reiterate here. But Luka, if he wants to have an everlasting career with everlasting tenure with the Lakers, I don't want to call it a career because there's an off chance he could go back to Dallas because he still loves that city and the fans still love him. If he wants to have an everlasting tenure with the Lakers, it's going to start with him taking accountability for his own conditioning. Because you cannot tell me he's taking accountability for his own conditioning and he can't keep Jaden McDaniels in front of him. They were hunting Luka, and we obviously need a big man. Too many times I saw Austin Reeves guarding Julius Randle in the freaking post, and I'm just like, JJ, what are you doing? Why are you leaving poor little Austin Reeves, who is not even having a good series offensively? You're going to have him guard Julius Randle? Now, I understand that's no fault of his own because the Lakers switch a lot, but a lot of the series, I saw Randle on Reeves, or Reeves on Randle, and I did not understand that at all, man. And then LeBron James. I will forever be a LeBron fan. I don't think he's the GOAT. I think Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but I have a lot of respect for LeBron and who he is as a player and his stature in the league, and I will never say, and there are obviously times where I've given LeBron some flack. Obviously, I didn't make videos about it, but, the game he had against, the Miami Heat game against Dallas, and then his 15-point stinker against the Boston Celtics the year before that final stinker in a Game 5 in his home court. I've given LeBron a lot of heat, no pun intended, because he did play for him. I respect the hell out of him, and I will forever be a LeBron fan. Bron, it's time to retire, bruh. It's time to retire, man. You're 40 years old, dog. So at some point in time, the Lakers are just gonna have to say we have to let it go and build around Luka because we have our star of the future. And there's a possibility we could trade Austin Reeves too. With the series he had, I'm not saying we shouldn't trade him off of a bad series, but if we feel like we can get someone better, I think the Lakers would do that. And I think Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss will have their hands full this offseason because I do not want to see us run it back with this roster. I do not want us, Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss, turn to Pat Riley and say, oh, let's run it back and expect the different results. In today's NBA, man, that stuff ain't going to work, bro. That stuff is not going to work. I have a lot more to say, but I just did not want to make this video, but I had to. I guess let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. I spent 25 minutes talking about the Lakers. I'm going to talk briefly about the Timberwolves. I'm so sorry, Minnesota. If you're a fan of the Minnesota T-Wolves and if you feel like I'm disrespecting you guys, because I pretty much used this whole entire time to talk about the Lakers, I do want to give the Minnesota T-Wolves this. Chris Finch coached one hell of a series. And obviously, you know, against JJ Redick, you know, inexperienced head coach and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine. But the thing about it, too, is that he had a good game plan saying, let's let the others shoot. Finney Smith, go get it. Gabe Vincent, go get it. And there was one time where we actually, that plan backfired, and it was game 2. And I was just like, as long as if we can play like that going into Minnesota, I wasn't mad we lost game 3, but we lost game 4. But Minnesota played rough and tough and gritty defensively. They played as gritty as they did. And they earned these wins, man. And the thing about it is, Anthony Edwards didn't have the greatest of series. Guys like Naz Reid and Jay McDaniels, those dudes, and Julius Randle too, those guys had one hell of a series, and they get a lot of respect from me because those guys are tough. But I do think in the next round, whether that be against the Golden State Warriors or the Houston Rockets, I think Golden State closes out the Houston tomorrow night in San Francisco, which would mean Golden State will have to travel to Minnesota on Sunday afternoon to face the Wolves. And did not have a great series against the Lakers, but he got away with it. Against the Golden State Warriors, who are much better defensively, who are much more in tune defensively, they have a better offensive system and a defensive schematics, Ant is going to have to play a great series. He cannot play a so-and-so series against the Lakers because this team is quarterbacked by a defensive player of the year in Draymond, a two-way beast in Jimmy Butler, who I've been on and off about this year because remember earlier in the season I made my video about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat fiasco. And then you have Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, and then you have hungry dogs like Pods, Moody, Gary Payton Jr. And I'm not saying Ant won't have a good series against the Warriors. I'm not saying that at all. But if they want to move on to the next round, Anthony Edwards has to be stellar. He has to be more than a good all-star. He has to play like a superstar against the Warriors. That's the only way Ant and the Wolves will advance to the conference finals to face OKC. And if they face OKC, he's going to have to double that. He can't. I don't think Ant will have a pedestrian series against the Warriors like he did with the Lakers. The thing is, he got away with that because the others helped him. Now, it's going to be on him this time. He won't have an easy series against the Warriors because the Warriors will give him absolute hell, man. And I do think if he faces the Warriors, I'm going to pick Golden State in 7, but I wouldn't be mad if I saw Ant in the conference finals yet again. So that's my quick take on the Wolves. I mean, I could go on about how good the Wolves are and how underrated they are, but it's like this is a goddamn 30-minute video, so I'm probably just going to end it here. Minnesota's good. They are very underrated. I underestimated them. I am so sorry, Minnesota fans. I'm sorry I doubted you guys. You guys are really good, and best of luck to you guys for the rest of the playoffs. As far as the Lakers go, OKC, UFC, KFC, please don't show this trash team on ABC or NBC for the next 5 years. Okay. Lakers, you have a lot of work to do. And if you run back with the same roster, you guys are never going to win a championship in the Luka era. I'm so sorry. So, my next episode will probably be a playoff preview of the Cavs and the Pacers. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow because I think that's when this weekend's when the second round will start. If not Monday, that will start maybe Saturday, if anything. Uh, so I will do my video on the Cavs Pacers series, and I'll do a series recap on the Rockets and the Warriors. And I think tonight I will have videos ready potentially for the Clippers and the Nuggets, and potentially for the Pistons and the Knicks. If not, I'm gonna have to push it back for a Saturday or Sunday. So this has been episode I think 3 or 4 series recap. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking here. I'm gonna end it here. Yeah. Lakers in 5 to Cancun. I guess we'll be back next year. That's the end of this video, y'all. I'm X. Deuces.